He doesn't get aces. He's not supposed to get aces.
Oh, my
Oh, ace
goodness.
king of hearts.
Over 100 bigs deep. Here we go.
4 diamonds. 4 diamonds. I called it. Let's go!
For what it's worth, just so everyone realizes, I'm not blaming anyone for me making a mistake. It was my mistake. I'm just trying to give a reflection as to why I made it. And I think that one of the most important things in poker is making those reflections. And that way you can grow as a player to ensure that you don't make the same mistake. Welcome back. We got a hell of a hand for y'all today. It's day 5, WSOP main event, and I got over 100 big blinds. I'm at the feature table. I'm literally living the dream. And then this happened.
Yeah, you got the one of the most active players on your right with heaps as well. It's a pretty incredibly dreamy spot.
And for those of you who don't know Rigby, first you got to get out from under that rock. This is, his content is all over the place. He's got so many wild hands that are just absolutely remarkable. He has one of the most crazy images ever. I had actually been planning to study him a little bit as I was going deeper in this tournament because we both had big stacks. There was a good chance we would collide. But during the main event, I just prioritized sleep and didn't have a chance. I get to the feature table. This is my third hand. I haven't even played a hand at this table yet. Not really settled. And then this happened.
Yeah.
So before we go into what I should have done, I'll kind of give you the idea of what I was thinking in game. So in game, I'm like, I know he's opening nearly any 2 on the button, maybe a little bit tighter because it's my big blind and we've had some just interesting interactions where he kind of knows I'm crazy. But I think that also influences me to want a 3-bet for value here because I think that he's just going to call everything. But then things don't really go according to plan.
Yeah. And from any theoretical perspective, which I'm going to refrain from putting too much weight into for a number of reasons. But from any theoretical perspective, this is just a very easy 3-bet. We have ace king suited versus a button open. Super, super strong value hand. We get called by a lot of hands. We dominate. We like to put money in the pot. We don't mind getting some of the trashier hands to fold and have some clarity on the range that we're up against. A lot of good things happen by 3-betting generally. However, I do think that the main event, this is what makes it so incredible, is that theory and practice diverge more than in any other tournament.
For sure. But for now, in reality, what happens is he shoves pretty quickly and I didn't even think about it. I was like, I have ace king suited. This guy's crazy. I'm in. And you can see how fast I call.
Yeah. I mean, I don't in a lot of ways, I don't blame you for that at all because I wouldn't be that shocked. I'm more surprised that he showed aces than I would be if he showed deuce 3 off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would expect deuce 3 off to be more likely than aces.
So it's kind of interesting because I think this hand people had incredibly different responses to it, thinking like, oh, you have such a big edge in the main. You just torched it off, which is what I believe. A lot of people are like, you have ace king suited against Rigby. What can you do? So I totally get the perspective of both parties involved. However, Foxen and I have actually spoke about this hand quite a bit. And I think once I 3-bet, I should probably just fold because of the significant edge that I have in the tournament. But that doesn't actually tell us what the best possible line is.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those spots where, and I think in the WSOP main event more than in any other tournament, because it's so slow, it's so deep, and the players are so weak on average, we need to really think through all of our decisions and what they lead to and how they end up affecting our future win rate. And that's where I think that this hand is interesting because you have a spot where 3-betting for value seems completely reasonable, and it is. It's hard to criticize 3-betting ace king suited from the big blind.
Yeah, at a glance, it's completely fine. But the more we really thought about it, the more we realized that my edge doesn't come from playing massive 3-bet pots out of position
with ace king,
but more specifically against an unpredictable player. And so because of that, we decided that the best option was to just call pre. Have a hand he would never think we have, comfortably continue on probably 100% of flops or darn close to it, and just go from there. You don't have to just play this giant pot. Just play a small pot. And that's how I got chips in this tournament year, most years, is just playing a lot of small pots, really, really well and winning more than my fair share.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is it's been true for me every time I've gone deep in the main event. I'm not going deep by winning 250 big blind pots all in
Wait,
pre with ace
when
king.
did you go deep in the main?
I mean 40th does that count as deep? I don't know.
Oh,
Not really.
I forgot you went that deep.
Yeah.
Okay, I take it back.
Yeah, it's a tournament where your win rate with 100 big blinds is so massive that risking them to get to 200 big blinds where your win rate doesn't really change at all is going to be detrimental without anything but the absolute top hands. So when I'm playing the main event, I'm generally trying to avoid playing large pots pre-flop with anything but aces. And I know that might sound kind of crazy and almost like silly, but it is very true. Like, of course, there's exceptions. Stack size is an important consideration. If we have 30-40 big blinds and we have ace king, there's not that much we can do besides try to get the money in a lot of spots. However, I think that the adjustments that all of the other players make in the main event allow us to play those hands a lot differently than we normally would. When we're playing a 10K with 30-minute levels at PokerGo, 3-bet calling ace king for 50 big blinds is really, really, really standard. Your opponent's going to have a suited ace sometimes. They're going to have tons of pairs. They're going to have all these hands that you do pretty well against. They'll have ace queen even sometimes. However, in the main event, when everyone's range is tightens up a little bit, the relative strength of ace king in an all-in pre-flop situation goes way, way down. If we are in a spot where when we 3-bet, we don't get jammed on by ace queen, we don't get jammed on by ace 5 suited, we don't get jammed on by ace 4 suited, we don't get sixes to jam on us, all of these types of things. Well, now our equity versus the get-in range becomes pretty bad, actually. Like ace king off, for example, versus a range that's comprised of like jacks plus and ace king, doing pretty bad. We're probably in the 30s against that range on average, because they're going to have aces and kings sometimes. They're going to have ace king suited and be free rolling us, or they're going to have jacks and queens, which are 55%. So 45 is about the best we can hope for against that range, and the bottom end is having 8% versus aces.
And let's just say that our all-in equity when he shoves here is 60%. In this 200 big blind pot, my expected outcome is 120 big blinds. But if I fold and I have 95 big blinds or whatever it would come out to there, my skill edge is still that 95 big blinds is worth 150 to 200 anyway. So to be all in a purely luck-centric thing in the main event is outrageous. And I think it also, like in hindsight, I wasn't settled. And I think that it's so important to be 100% focused in there, and like the excitement of the main event, you're going to the feature table. There was also some like kind of weird stuff that happened on the way to the feature table when they did, I think I told you about this, Alex, but like when they did the draw to see who goes there, the floor man was like, if you have an X on your card, you're at the feature table. He didn't shuffle him and was just staring right at me when he said it. And it just felt so rigged for me to be sent to the feature table that I was like upset and still thinking about that. And then instead of collecting myself, I made an incredibly big mistake on a big spot.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a handful of instances of this happening at the WSOP where players are moved to the feature in a way that seems unlikely to be actually random. And when you have a suspicion that this is happening, you really have two options of how to deal with it. One, you can get really bothered by it and try to make a fuss out of it. But pretty important to recognize that it's really hard to prove anything like that, if not impossible.
It's literally impossible.
You're fighting a losing battle is really what it is. When to get upset about that, and it isn't fair, it isn't right. Like if that's what's happening, it's not fair, and it's not correct.
And I don't
it's
know
not
for sure
happen.
that that's what happened. Maybe I didn't see shuffle. Maybe I just felt like he was staring at me. Like who knows, right? And I think a much better way to handle it going forward, make sure you're watching. Ask him to shuffle again if you want, right? Like that way, at least it removes the uncertainty from your mind about it possibly not being 100% random like it should be.
Yeah.
And
but the other thing that you could do is definitely just accept it for what it is, and know like, okay, I'm a known player that people are going to want to see on the feature table. They want views. This is just the way that it's going to go. And I've kind of come to accept that in a lot of other spots too, because it is true. It feels like it's true at a lot of spots where it's like, really, this is the feature table, like, and someone busts, and out of 5,000 people it happens to be another top 50 name in poker that gets drawn. That's like, seems really unlikely to be the case, but I know I can't do anything about it, and just play the hand you're dealt kind of thing, and just accept it and don't let it bother you at all, is what I would say is the best course of action here. It goes both ways. If you're not a known player and you're at the feature table, you're probably more likely to get a very well-known player move to your table once someone busts. It's just a reality that unfortunately we have to accept. There are ways that maybe after the tournament you could try to ensure that that can't happen in the future, but in the moment when that's happening, you're not going to be the person to fix it. That's not the moment to try to change the rules or fix the methods that they use to pick players for tables. It's just the moment to purely focus on what's in front of me, who's here, what are the hands, what are the ranges, what are the stacks, etc. Focus on that side of it and just be as present as you can in the moment, not thinking about what could be or what should be. And that's a dangerous game in poker in general, what should be or what could be, because this leads you to, a lot of emotions. You lose a flip and you're like, oh, I could have had 150 big blinds. Now I only have 60. If only this guy didn't shove a hand that he's like, those types of thoughts can take you away from the things that you should be thinking about.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, just so everyone realizes, I'm not blaming anyone for me making the mistake. It was my mistake. I'm just trying to give a reflection as to why I made it. And I think that one of the most important things in poker is making those reflections. And that way you can grow as a player to ensure that you don't make the same mistake again.
Yeah. And it is a good lesson to learn from, as you said, not blaming others for your mistakes, but recognizing what the source of them might be and planning for that in the future. So important takeaway from this is to just recognize that there are a lot of things in poker that are outside of your control, and it's always going to be the best course of action to just focus on those things that are in your control, because you can't control what's not in your control.
Yeah.
This is runouts, this is floor rulings, this is all that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect conclusion. Like, the biggest takeaway in poker, you can only control so much. Focus on that. Don't worry about the rest. Please learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one where you start weighing the value of gaining chips versus the value of losing chips. And there becomes like a weird form of ICM involved in this spot where your risk premium to get all in with anything but aces is really significant, just because winning chips doesn't add to your win rate nearly as much as losing a lot of them takes away from it. So going from 100 big blinds to 80 big blinds, or going from 80 big blinds to 60 big blinds, etc., is significantly more detrimental than adding those 20 big blinds in either of those spots. Or to take it to the extreme, in this case, doubling to 200 big blinds, obviously your EV in the tournament does go up by doing that. I'm not trying to argue otherwise, but that's assuming that you always win. And we know, especially with a hand like ace king suited, you're not always going to win. You're not even going to win 80% of the time. You're not even going to win 70% of the time. Best case scenario, you have 70% equity. So this is a spot where your EV is like, at best 140 big blinds, and then the 30% of the time that you lose, you're out of the tournament. So do those 100 big blinds with the win rate that you have, what are they actually worth? It might actually be worth 150, 175 big blinds. And taking those super high variance risk spots probably ends up just being minus EV.
This was such a painful video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I can't live in this moment any longer. This is so painful. Putting myself back there is awful. And one of the things I'm really good at in poker is moving on. And so when I saw this hand on the list, I was putting it off. I didn't want to do it. And in fact, I'm upset that you were even in the video doing this one with me, because it would have taken me 3 minutes. It would have been over. I'd be on to the next one. But thanks for joining me, brother. I appreciate it. And it's always great to hear your perspective.
Yeah. See you all next time.